So I mentioned this the other day, and I very rarely call for anybody's jobs. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that's my job.
I know that's your job is to call for people's jobs. Because I sit next to a coach, have for about a decade and a half in my television career on NFL Network in Mariucci. You know, when he told me the number of times that he would pack boxes and he'd move his family around, and it's just, but it is the nature of the beast and the business in the NFL. That's why, Jerry Glanville always said that the NFL stood for not for long. So when I said on the air that the Giants had no choice but to move on from Joe Judge after just 2 years, I don't do this just to pound the table and get a phone line later or a click. I am from the New York area, and as you know, I'm a Jet fan since birth, and I have been watching all of that. And the entire time as I've been a Jet fan, the Giants always have a fan base that looks down on us. Okay, they're the ones who played all those years in Yankee Stadium, and the Jets played in Shea. I mean, the Jets had that Super Bowl III championship to talk about forever and a day, and the Giants didn't really have very much until Parcells showed up, and then obviously things kind of changed, didn't they? But they had those years before Namath won those Super Bowls, and the Giants were the Giants. They were the Blue Bloods of New York City. I'm just trying to set all this up for anybody who's potentially new here. Things are totally reversed now. And I say this with all due respect. The Giants have had on the field one of the worst performances I can remember over any 6, 8-year, 10-year stretch. Because the 10 years I know now no longer includes that Super Bowl season where Ahmad Bradshaw went reverse into the end zone in Indianapolis that night that Eli Manning found my Wolverine Mario Manningham in one of the most incredible throws in the history of the Super Bowl, where he dropped that one right in the old, turkey hole in a way. So the 10 years no longer includes that. And the 1 year that they went to the playoffs with the last time they went to the playoffs with Coach Ben McAdoo, we all know was a one and done, and the players went to South Florida the week before. I mean, could you imagine? Yeah, I still can't believe that happened.
It's incredible.
But 3 coaches in a row, Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, now Joe Judge. The Giants don't want to be known as that franchise that churns through coaches, which is why Joe Judge was not in any way, shape, or form considered to be in danger despite everything. But the last 3 weeks have been so bizarre. They have been so weird. From Joe Judge's post-game press conference where it was just one coaching cliche after another about building a culture and talking about how well they're building a culture despite the results, and he feels like he knows the locker room and the guys in the locker room, and it was just like one coach speak phrase after another said in a manner of a coach who is angry about the situation but also in charge about the situation, and the situation is bleak, but don't worry about it. There's other people elsewhere who are calling him up to say that they would love to be back. That's how much of a culture he's built there despite awful performances. It's kind of like that dinner party guest that you have sitting next to. When you ask them what they do for a living and they say, oh, I'm in marketing or I'm in sales, and then you ask them another follow-up question or 5, and after they give you all the, verbiage of what they do, you still don't know what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you do again? Just walk me through what you do again. Oh, no, you know what I do is I do marketing and I do consulting for a lot of businesses around the country that are interested in consulting services and business people who need some help and some ideas about what their consulting or marketing needs to be. And you're like, okay. So you're into marketing and you're in consulting and you're talking about what businesses need to do about marketing and consulting. Is that what you do? Yeah. So what's the last thing you marketed or consulted? Well, I talked to some people about their consultation business. You know what I mean? That's what Joe Judge sounded like.
Rich, I'm in construction.
Okay.
I'm in the import-export business.
Well, we can have another conversation and pass the red wine. That's what it sounded like. And then for somebody who's so darn in charge of everything to have that moment against the Washington football team, who he bizarrely called out for, their clown show, this or that, and we don't have players arguing with each other on the sideline, and just bizarre calling out of other franchises and businesses and what their practices and what have you. It was weird. For him then to take I've never really seen a surrender formation. I know about victory formations, but surrender formation. Inside his own 10-yard line of a game, he's only trailing 3-0 with 5 minutes to go, and say, no, we're going to be aggressive. We're an aggressive football team. We're building a culture of winning here, and guys know exactly what I'm doing here, and I know what the guys need because I'm a guy who's not going to stand for any of this stuff except for all the stuff that I'm doing that I won't stand for. Again, it's just like this Riptide of Gobbledygook. Write that one down.
Riptide of Gobbledygook.
That's what it was. And the Giants need to stick with him because they're afraid to be a franchise known for churning out coaches? Well, again, as Bill Parcells said, man in the mirror, man in the glass, you are what you are, all of that stuff. That's what the Giants are now. And they have got to basically, John Mara and my friend Steve Tisch, they need to just hire somebody who they totally believe in, who has nothing to do with the organization, and isn't anybody that's been suggested to them by anybody who has suggested anybody to them over the last 3 hiring cycles. Look at each other, grab each other like Thelma and Louise, and just push the car and hope it doesn't go over the cliff. And let that person choose the coach. And as long as they don't show up in some form or format in some sort of personal vetting to be somebody that can't be sold to the New York fan base, then hire them. And that's it. And stay out of it. Because this has been horrible. Ever since Ben McAdoo showed up in his talking heads untailored suit. Like that day, it was just weird. That's the guy you're going to hand off to the New York Giants with his huge play sheet menu. It's just been slapstick. And he was the one who took him to the press.
He was right about Eli.
Well, again, he may have been right about Eli's ineffectiveness moving forward, but you don't let that guy sit Eli Manning. You don't hand that one off to him and say Geno Smith. You don't do that.
But
you don't do
coach.
that. No, it's the organization that says we're sticking with Eli, and then you stick with Eli because that's the way we run things here, and the season is kind of over, and you're not going to hand the reins to Geno Smith. The rest of New York had a front row seat to his disastrous run with the Jets. That's the guy you're going to sit Eli Manning for? No way. And that's not the coach that you allow to sit Eli Manning either.
But who is?
Not that guy. And then you run your course and tell Eli that we're not bringing you back for another year and figure that one out. Oh, come on. You could sit here and say that Eli's effectiveness as a quarterback is over or was over back in that day, and you would not be wrong. And hindsight backs your play, Chris. But the way the Giants did it was ridiculous. And whoever decided, and while I'm all the way in here, whoever decided to give medium-sized sodas out to fans on an appreciation day, that the only people that can cash in the medium-sized sodas are people with the email link, because they're the ones who are the fan. Like, you only came to a handful of games through the secondary ticket market. That's your way of showing your fandom because you can't afford season tickets. You must buy your medium soda. Where's your promo code for your medium? So somebody couldn't sit there in that organization and say, we got to at least give away larges. Okay. I am hoping for all my friends in that organization who are there and have been diehards and are really terrific people, and my diehard Giant friends, and I know so many of them.
Yeah, me too.
I hope they get this one right. It is a better league with the Giants battling it out with your Cowboys and the Washington Clown Shows or Commanders or whatever they're going to be called.
Admirals.
I'm hearing it's Commanders.
Oh, Commanders.
And that would be good.
It just kept football. Team.
But it's better. It's better when the Giants and the Eagles battle it out in the turnpike, and then the Giants fans are pounding their chest, and they have nothing to pound right now. But the Giants made the right move. They made the right move, big time. You cannot have a head coach talk the way that he was talking with the results that he was churning in, coming out there and saying, take a surrender formation when there's nothing left. Like, your job is on the line. And we're going to play it easy with Jake Fromm. We don't have the ability to make this throw. And then we'll just figure it out. I just don't know whose job, we'll take a look at this, throughout this show as to which teams have what to offer somebody. But somebody wants to coach the New York Football Giants, I'll tell you that. And that person's got to have a big plate, because it's clean up on aisle Big Blue, and there is stuff all over the floor. We got to restock the shelves. We got to see what's in the inventory. We definitely have to get rid of something that's past their due date on the box. But this is not the Giants team that many people grew up with in the 80s. It's worse than what I grew up with in the 70s. Worse. Way worse.
Such a shame.
I know that, brother. You're playing a small violin. You're playing a small violin. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.